Hi, welcome back to more work on the Dana. Now, what I'm working on at the moment is obviously I'm getting all these panels put in to actually shape the front of it. You can see I've done the inserts on the lights. I'm experimenting with these little inserts around the windows, and then I'm putting this panel on here at the moment. I'm just doing a bead weld all the way along. One thing I have learned about the more I work with this gasless welding, the better I seem to be getting at it. Because what I have noticed is the feed from the feed of the material coming on doesn't need to be as great as it does with gas. So I think I was using too much, so I was building up too much of a kind of a hump of material. Now I'm getting it just right, and I've got a lot less splattiness, which is really, really good. And even like that, the weld actually looks reasonable. And I'm not getting the same holes through it that I was. I don't mean, it's hard to explain. I don't mean blowing holes in the metal. I mean there's like little micro holes. However, saying that, once this is all ground back, once it's had loads of layers of filler put onto it and then layers of paint on it, you ain't even going to notice any errors in the welding anyway. So, but it's absolutely rock solid. I was asked, why don't I just 3D print it? Wouldn't it make life much easier? Yeah, probably would. But it's not the same as working with metal. It just doesn't, I don't know, I like working with metal. I like sculpting it using my trusty CNC machine.
Where's the weather forecast?
Oh yeah, I don't know whether I did a weather forecast in the last one. It's really sunny, and somebody doesn't like it.
Too blinking hot.
Not for me though. 25, 28 degrees, I'm in my element. I have come to the conclusion actually, I think after Open Studios this year, which is in September, it's a couple of model shows in October, but I think November I am going to explore the concept of hibernation. I am. And then you can wake me up in March, and then I might, because it's way too cold then anyway. Now it's absolutely glorious, I can work outside, it's really nice, I can work on this. Yeah, so this is how it happens. This is how the shapes happen. Basically, it's all welded in, angle grind back. And then interestingly, if the camera wants to pan that way, you can see how my wonderful sheets end up. So that's how all the sheets of steel end up, well, that's the offcuts basically at the moment. I'll take bits and pieces, then I'll sort of layering them, putting them back on here and building all this up. So you can see, I'm not making it up. When I say these things are made of 100% recycled metal, that is exactly what I mean. It would be lovely to go and, as I said, have these wonderful sheets of brand new metal, but this is great. This works really, really well, and it's saving the materials, and I'm reusing them again. So, next bit, once I've done the front here, I've got to think about actually the glass, believe it or not. I'll probably have to cut the perspex to go in, because it's going to have to be all drilled through on here, and it'll all have to be lined up with the perspex. I've got work to do on the top and the roof, and I'm going to make the little hatches that you get in, I'm going to make them actually open properly. It's squeaky, it's a really squeaky seat I'm sitting on. I might have to build myself a new one. Right, anyway, so that is where I am at. I better get on, and I better start doing some more CNCing. So, what have I been up to? Apart from the fact that I've been burning my hands, and I've been getting moaned at by Mrs. Breaker, I need some new gloves. Look at the state of these. Look. Gonna go in the bin. I've got proper welding gloves, but they're just so big. And the problem is, once you wear them, you can't kind of feel anything. Anyway, at least I won't burn my hands. So anyway, right. Anyway, apart from burning my hands, what have I been doing? An awful lot of detailing. As you can see now, I'm getting all these little pieces. I'll zoom in a minute so you can actually have a look. Obviously, none of this is finished. It's all got to be ground down, but all the little handles. Now, on the other truck that I did, the very first truck that I did, all of these pieces, I actually stuck them on with super glue. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. The super glue is pretty tough, but it's super glue. These, I decided I'm going to weld on. It's going to take me a lot longer, and there's a lot more finishing to do, but they're actually welded on. So, you know, you could literally lift the truck with all these pieces. They're on there to stay on there. And I've done the same with the little doors. So you can see these are the little doors that sit on the top. And instead of just making them fixed, I actually decided to make them so they will open. And you can see at the moment, they're a bit rough and ready. You can kind of, I'll bring that one up to the camera so you can kind of see. You can see I've created lots of layers, created a little hinge. There's a little handle there so that it can be opened properly. And then they sit on this larger panel here. And then they can kind of, so you can access then through into the cab on the inside. And they look really good when they sit on there as well. They look nice. But I mean, those alone, they've taken me almost, well, a couple of days to make these things. Obviously, this has all got to be lined on the back with foam, and I'm going to put a little gasket around that so it makes a proper seal. But it's things like that that take the time. Sometimes the actual main superstructures I can knock together fairly quickly. It's getting all these little details. You can see on the front, I've got the little pieces I've put on the front. I can't get anything that fits to that size. So it is literally an old bit of angle cut up with some holes drilled in it, shaped, put on to look like a towing hook. On the back, I'm not going to take the camera around the back at the moment. I'm going to do that later on. But basically what I've been doing there is mounting in, drilling holes for things like the charge port, the main on and off switch, the speaker output port, because I'm going to vent this through the back, the bigger speaker, and then I'm going to use a smaller 2 tweeters at the front, which I've got to drill the holes for those. So that's all been done at the back. I'm umming and ahhing about the tow bar. Now, here's a sort of a picture of the Ditter. Now, the Ditter is quite a big vehicle. I mean, they're 13 meters long, these things, and you know they're big old beasts. They do have a towing ability on the back of them, and I think I might get this wrong. So if I get this wrong, I apologise. In fact, I'm not even going to say which army it is because I'm not sure which one it is. But one particular army took the Dana, the Ditter base, and they used it as a tank transporter. Now it was super cool. So you had basically the lineup of the normal Ditter with the gun and everything on it, but then you had a system at the back of it which was like a huge towing hook, and it was able then to pull an enormous trailer, or you know the usual 6-wheel trailers, and then you could get a battle tank on the back, because in reality these things would have more than enough power to pull something like that. You know, yes, there are dedicated lorries in military service to do that, but if you could take a vehicle and make it do 2 things, then even better. Anyway, so a lot of work on the front. Yes, something else I've done. I have cut here all the cut and drilled all the acrylic to go into here, into these. I'm going to use this frosted dark acrylic again, and as you can see, you can just about see when the light shines through that. It's all drilled up, and so it's going to kind of look like it's held on with rivets, just like the real thing. So I've done that one, and I've got the 2 front windscreen pieces as well. But obviously they're going to stay nice and safe out of the way until, well, a lot later on. They've all got to be polished up. And to be honest, they won't go anywhere near this now until it's all painted and it's finished. And then they'll literally be put in at the last minute. I'm going to do some experimenting with paint on the wheels and see if I can now get rid of the red and I can find something that sticks to this nylon material, because it's pretty tough stuff actually, and obviously we can't have this with red wheels. It looks a bit silly. Although if I was going to go down the Thunderbirds route, they would stay red. What next? Side pods. I've got to work on these. These are just at the moment just crude pieces of metal that are in there. I've got to work out a way to attach those, because they've got to be removable, because I'm using that to access the batteries are going underneath there. But I'm not going to work on that yet, because I'll work on that probably at the same time that I start to set the bearing in there. Now, I'm not going to set the bearing in there. Oh, excuse me, I'm going to have to wipe my nose again. It's got really cold again here again. Oh, I didn't do a weather forecast. It's freezing. I mean, we were like 25 degrees, and now it's like 8 degrees out there. But I don't care. I'm in here and I'm working and I'm doing this. Yeah, the bearing, I don't really want to get the bearing in here while I'm still welding and doing all this, because the dirt will get into the bearing, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to contaminate the bearing. So there's an awful lot to do yet before I get into doing that. But I would say on the front, we're getting there. Lights are done. Inserts on the lights are done. Glass, as I said, the acrylic is done. The roof, once I'm going to do this now, I'm going to get this all fixed together, is done. All of these are in, welded in. So, yeah, we're kind of looking good on the front. It's coming together. The shape's coming together. So it will just be now, I think, once I've done this, got this glued together, these systems, what I'm going to do is just, I think, use the contact adhesive and just bond these on here. Although saying that, there's plenty of material underneath. I might just tack weld it on. The only reason I wasn't too sure about welding it is very thin material at that point. And what I don't want to do, I've gone to a lot of energy of getting the edge really nice. I don't want to destroy the edge now by blowing a hole straight through it. But we will see. I don't know. We'll see. The glue that I've been using is the resin Gorilla Glue, and it's incredibly strong. I stuck these on with it, and they've been bashed around, they've been drilled, and they won't come off. So it's incredibly strong stuff. The trick with it is to glue on very, very rough surfaces. So as I've done there, really key the surface up so it's really, really rusty, really rough, and then same on that side, and then bond those two together. So as long as the surface is really keyed up, that glue is pretty awesome. So there you have it. That's where I'm at the moment. I'm going to go and get moaned at now by Mrs. Breaker because she's going to see my burnt fingers. And then she's going to make me probably sit down and buy some new welding gloves. So I'll have to spend the next half an hour searching for those. See you next time.